All right, welcome back to Close Up. It's been a little more than a month since the New Hampshire primary. Might feel like a year in a lot of different ways. Democrats are still going back and forth, but Hillary Clinton appears to be closing in on nomination from her party. But so does Donald Trump, although Republicans are now locked in a battle for what could be the heart and soul of the GOP. Joining me now to break down where things stand and get their take, we have Dante Scala from UNH and Dean Spiliotis from SNHU. Good to see you, gentlemen. So let's start with what Ted Gatsas had to say a moment ago. Do you agree with his assessment that state-level races, like the governor's race, Dean, won't be impacted by the division in the Republican Party that we see on the national scene?
We often hear that here in New Hampshire, but I think the reality is what happens at the top of the ticket in a presidential year can have an impact down ballot. And we've seen this division growing in the Republican Party for several election cycles now. And so if you go back to the New Hampshire primary, we saw some establishment Republicans in the state hit Donald Trump pretty hard. He could conceivably be back now as the nominee. That may embolden some conservatives, and some independents are not happy with what the Republican Party is doing to push for maybe perhaps a primary challenger for Kelly Ayotte, as we might see, or just to cause a little bit of turmoil in terms of consolidating Republicans for the election.
Dante, what's your take?
You can't separate the two in a presidential election year. I mean, New Hampshire has had this split personality. In presidential years, it leans a bit Democratic. In off-year elections, it leans significantly Republican. It's the presidential year. The state already leans a little bit Democratic, and Republicans are on the verge of having this three-alarm dumpster fire going on all year long. I mean, Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, one of those two is most likely going to be the nominee, probably Trump. But even if it's Cruz, Cruz is a terrible fit for New Hampshire Republicans. Socially conservative, from the South. He's no better than Donald Trump. In fact, he could be worse. But Donald Trump, who knows? And that's the problem for Ted Gatsas, for Kelly Ayotte, for Chris Sununu, all these Republicans who are thinking about running this year. They're wondering about the Trump effect, because if Trump just bottoms out between now and November, that means that the rest of the down ticket races, those Republicans have to outperform Donald Trump all the time, while Democrats are going to be tying Trump and down ticket Republicans together.
Yeah, I want to ask this question because if there's one thing that this cycle has taught us, what we know, we really don't. Donald Trump's defying everything. The conventional wisdom is he's a liability on the ticket. And you can start here, Dean.
Sure.
Is it possible that he is turning, because we see the support he's getting and he keeps getting numbers, that maybe being on his coattails isn't as bad as we originally thought for Republicans?
Yeah, it is hard to know. You know, he has defied the odds. A lot of people counted him out from the very beginning. I think what Dante's referring to is Democrats have had large margins in the last two presidential elections here in 2008 and 2012. So if you go under the assumption that the state is increasingly leaning Democratic, and if he turns out to be a controversial nominee or one who is having trouble bringing in conservatives or hardcore Republicans are unhappy with him, then you worry about turnout. So sure, anything's possible, but based on our prior elections, the concern would be that he might potentially drive down turnout. But I think the bigger issue is just unity within the Republican Party, and we don't know what's going to happen at the convention yet. But there is a real potential for there just to be a lot of turmoil throughout the throughout the fall, and that would be a problem down ticket.
Yeah, are we headed to a brokered convention? Do you believe, a contested convention, however you want to characterize it?
No. I don't think we are. I think Trump is going to continue to do well. Not so much in places like Utah, but in the Northeast, where a lot of states are lining up to vote in the next couple months. Those are Trump states. They're not Ted Cruz states. Ted Cruz does well in places with lots of evangelicals and the South. And those voters are pretty much done at this point. So it's either going to be Trump or maybe Kasich doing well. But I would put my odds on Trump, and he's going to be either over the top, he's going to get a majority of delegates, or he's going to be so close. I'm really hard-pressed to see Republicans saying at that point, we're going to defy the voters, at least a plurality of the voters, and broker the convention and take it away from Trump.
And in his colorful way, he said, try taking this nomination away from me and to be rioting in the streets. And who knows, he might be right. Let's talk about the New Hampshire primary's impact on all this. For all the heat that we take up here for our disproportional say, the primary did a pretty good job forecasting where things stand right now. Would you agree?
Certainly on the Republican side, for sure. Trump has done quite well. The Democratic side, Bernie Sanders won quite handily. He's now running into some difficulty. I think he's hoping that he'll do a little bit better in some of the western states where there are caucuses and a better demographic mix for him among Democratic participants. But sure, in general, I think a lot of the same kind of divisions and tensions that you're seeing within the Republican Party nationally, we saw play out here in New Hampshire throughout the primary. I think the two big ifs on what Dante was saying, one is, John Kasich said if he wins Ohio, that resets everything. I mean, there's no empirical evidence of that. We'll see if he can start to win some more delegates, and Ted Cruz is hoping that he'll do well in some of these western states as well, where there are closed Republican caucuses where he's more likely to do well among the party regulars. But the issue is, as you're suggesting, is we get to the convention, if Donald Trump doesn't have the majority, but he's very close, you can imagine kind of the turmoil and potential for all kinds of chaos should the rules and the party try to take the nomination away from him. I mean, there are rules in place to handle this, but those rules can be adjusted at the convention.
And how does this play into the Senate race for Kelly Ayotte? Obviously, Maggie Hassan's a formidable opponent. And she has to be looking at the climate right now. Frank Ginta is embattled. He could be on the ticket. He's going to find himself in a primary, and it'll be tough for him to get through it. But, I mean, she has to be wondering, what did I do to enter this cycle?
Well, I mean, you're at the mercy of the cycle. In 2010, everything broke right for Kelly Ayotte. She was running at just the right time. It was still a bad economy. Democrats were in power in the White House. In 2010, the general election, all Ayotte had to do was say, I'm against Barack Obama and my opponent's with him. And that was all she had to do. And she won easily in the general election. This time around, it's a different cycle. And Ayotte may be forced a lot more to run her own race and try to ignore Donald Trump as much as possible. And she certainly would ignore Ted Cruz if he winds up being the nominee as much as possible. And that's the difficulty for Ayotte. She's facing problems with her base, her conservative base, and she's facing problems at the top of the ticket. She may have to rely a lot more on her personal popularity than she had to, say, 6 years ago.
Sure. But at the same time, isn't Maggie Hassan facing the same problems to a certain degree with Hillary Clinton at the top of the ticket, who clearly has, according to polls, trust issues and FBI investigations and questions about integrity? I mean, aren't they both kind of facing the same problems?
I mean, you hear that argument all the time that both candidates, if it were to be Trump and Clinton, they're both flawed candidates. For both of them, there are potential concerns in terms of turnout. It's hard to say. Again, you have to fall back on how Maggie Hassan did here in the last times that she ran for the first time and then for re-election. She won by pretty healthy margins, and I think that they're hoping that they can continue through on that with the Senate race. I agree with Dante. Kelly Ayotte was ideal to run in 2010. That was the Tea Party revolution. She's in a much different environment now. I think, as Dante said, you may find her literally just kind of try to block out a lot of the national stuff. She can focus on a message of bipartisanship and working for New Hampshire, the kinds of things you would expect her to say. But the Senate Majority PAC, Harry Reid's PAC, is already hitting her and trying to link her with Donald Trump on the Supreme Court nomination. So she's really caught between kind of the National Party and the demands of the constituents here in New Hampshire.
All right, back to the White House. We have less than a minute to go. Let's get to the fun part of the program, looking at our crystal ball. Dean, you get to go first. Who occupies the White House in January of next year?
I have no. No, I'm not going to. I think it's likely to be either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. A lot of it is going to hinge, as we said earlier, on how Trump does as a nominee. Clinton is a kind of a much more experienced politician. It could go either way. A lot of the polls suggest that she would win, but I'm going to hedge for now.
Yeah, you hedged.
Maybe Dante will.
Economy's good, okay, and so that should favor the party in power. I mean, Trump, I think, still could do. I mean, he could surprise.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing, like I said, if you think we know something,
don't know about it, right? That's the problem, right?
Gentlemen, good talking to you. Come back anytime. There's going to be plenty to talk about.
Sure.
Good to see you. Be right back with more. Stay with us.